Hi guys, Samantha from Jessimo Tutorials here, and welcome back to another episode of How to Imitate That. So today we are going to be imitating these stones, and now some of them are jade and some of them are, I don't butcher this name, I believe it's aventurine. Please tell me how to pronounce that in the comments below if you know which stone I'm talking about, but we are mostly aiming for jade. Now some of these are jade, I think, but yeah, you're generally looking for this kind of effect in the stone. So you can basically imitate a number of green stones with this technique. Just adjust it to whatever you're trying to imitate. So what you're going to want is a selection of crayons, and these are all on the relatively bluish side. I'm not using the yellower crayons just simply because once they're baked they actually go yellower. So look for ones that are a little more on the bluish green side. Then we're also going to want some translucent. I've got two pieces off to the side because I want to make a light and a dark green one. And I'm just going to peel off a little bit of translucent and put that to the side because I'm going to want to mix that in later on. Right, grab your translucent, doesn't matter what thickness it is rolled out on your pasta machine. And then take your crayons and I'm going to be making the lighter one here, and then I'll make the darker one. But basically you're just going to scrape the crayons across the surface like that. Try to get nice small scrapes, you don't want massive pieces of crayon in this. But there we go, it should work. And then I'm going to use this one, which is the other lighter colour, and just scrape that across the surface like so. Okay, then just fold your translucent over to trap the crayons in there. Also, don't worry about the red marks on my fingers, that's actually alcohol ink, because I actually was doing an experiment video earlier and I was using red alcohol inks in that and they stain. So, don't worry about that. So, grab all of the crayon shavings that you might have around the area, and then I want you to run that through the pasta machine, mixing the crayons in until you get a consistent colour. Okay, and here is what you should end up with. So then just take that. Also, once you've rolled it through the pasta machine, if it doesn't feel dark enough to you, you can always add more crayon pieces. So add as much as you want or as little as you want, it's completely up to you. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to bundle it up so that it's a solid piece of clay, and we'll turn it into a cabochon in a bit. And actually I'm not going to use that piece of translucent that I put to the side. I think this is perfectly fine the way it is. Keep in mind that the colours do change and darken when they go in the oven, so you want to be aiming for something a bit lighter than you actually want. Okay, so I'm just rolling that in my hands to get it all together so that we don't have any air bubbles. And there we go. Pop that to the side. Bring over another piece of translucent if you wish to make a dark piece. Okay, and I'm going to use these two colours. They're a fair bit darker, and I'm just going to repeat the process that I did with this one. Okay, and this is the darker one, this is the lighter one. Now I'm going to bring over some cabochon molds. Of course you can use these however you want, you don't have to turn them into cabochons. Let's see, this one's the easier of the two to do, so I'll show how to do the donut. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this down into a cylinder, like so. And I'm just gauging how much I'm going to need. I'm probably not going to need all of this, so let me break off a piece. Then just join that together, like so. Make sure that you squish that together so that it is well joined. You don't want a seam. bring this over, and that's just going to make it a little easier to get it in there. And this is how you do donut molds. Of course, with a cabochon mold, you would just take it in a cylinder like that and squish it in. Okay, then thoroughly squish that down, and if you've got a translucent mold like this, you should be able to see how it's coming along on the other side. You can also use your roller to really get that in there. And now ideally you want to be aiming for the perfect amount of clay. I obviously did not get the perfect amount, but that's alright. Just bring over a blade and very gently, I'm not using a particularly sharp blade because I'm cutting towards myself, and so it's generally not a great idea to do that if the blade is very sharp. And you just want to aim to shave off pretty much all of that excess. Like so. Okay, and then once you've got most of it, just go back in and get rid of all these scraggly bits around the edge. You can just press them in with your finger, like so. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to use the pale jade that we've made to make the cabochon. And generally speaking, especially if it is quite hot where you are located, I would recommend putting the cabochon molds into the freezer, and that just makes it a lot easier to demold them. Okay, so I've got too little clay there, so I'll grab a little more. The cabochons are generally easier to fill than the donut molds. Okay, and I had too much there, so I can very easily shave that off and roll it in there. And you can use any cabochon mold you have at your disposal. It doesn't have to be these ones. I just thought these ones fit the jade aesthetic the best. Oh, there we go. Let those sit for a bit so that the clay is not too warm when you take it out. Okay, then when you're demolding, you want to just pull the mold away at the edges, like so, without lifting the clay up, and this is just going to release it. Make sure that if you're using the donut mold, to release it on the inner piece as well. And then gently get it to release like so. And generally speaking, I'll put that onto a piece of paper so that I can trim around the edges. Okay, and you can always sand these off. You do not need to trim them off right now. The mold I'm using is a defect in it because I generally use the molds that don't come out perfect when I make them. But generally you'll have a little bit of these scraggly edges, but that's very easy to clean up with a bit of sanding. Okay, and you can also pick it up and gently smooth that down as well. But there we go. That's the one. And this one should come out a fair bit easier. There we go. And this one also has some straggly edges that I'll clean up. There we go. Now I'm going to put that into the oven for a full hour at Primrose recommended temperature, and then we're going to give them a thorough sand to bring out the shine. I might varnish them, but generally when I'm imitating faux stones, I don't like to do that because they don't have a perfect finish. You can generally see the grain of the stone, and so these ones I'm probably going to sand. You can varnish them if you want though. Okay, and here they are after I've sanded and buffed them. Now if you want to know how to sand and buff your pieces, I do already have a detailed guide on that on my YouTube channel. So just have a look for that, or I'll actually leave it in the description below. Sometimes I do forget to do that, so if it's not down there, please just leave a comment below and I will pop that in. But yeah, they have changed colour quite a bit. So here are the raw pieces, and you can see that they have yellowed, and I did talk about that earlier. So if you want to really experiment around with making different pieces, I would highly recommend baking some sample pieces before committing to anything, because the colour change is quite significant. But yeah, so here are some example pieces that match. These ones are a little bluer, but yeah, it looks pretty close if I were to say so. And so yeah, I'm quite happy with that technique. It turned out pretty well. We can maybe visit it again in future videos, where maybe I could do something like rose quartz or faux amber. That would work as well. But yeah, they worked out quite well. If you enjoyed the tutorial, please let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to support the channel, please do consider becoming a member. There is a join button below this video. There's also a link to Patreon if you'd rather join there. Or even buying the tools and supplies that I have on my Etsy shop. That also really helps keep the channel going. But yeah, that's it for today's tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.